Sit down on your behind, Minnie, because I'm about to tell you the rules for working in a white lady's house. I was 14 years old to the day I sat at the little wooden table in my mama's kitchen, eyeing that caramel cake on the cooling rack, waiting to be iced. Birthdays were the only day of the year I was allowed to eat as much as I wanted. I was about to quit school and start my first real job. Mama wanted me to stay on and go to ninth grade. She always wanted to be a school teacher instead of working in Miss Woodruff's house. But with my sister's heart problem and my no good drunk daddy, it was up to me and Mama. I already knew about housework. After school, I did most of the cooking and the cleaning. But if I was going off to work at someone else's house, I would be looking after ours. Mama turned me by the shoulders, so I'd look at her instead of the cake. Mama was a crack whip. She was proper. She took nothing from nobody. She shook her finger so close to my face and made me cross-eyed. Rule number one for working for a white lady: it's nobody's business. You keep your nose out of your white lady's problems. You don't go crying to her with yours. You can't pay the light bill, your feet too sore. Remember one thing: white people are not your friends. They don't want to hear about it. And when Miss White Lady catches her man with the lady next door, you keep out of it. You hear me? Rule number two: don't ever let that white lady see you sitting on her toilet. I don't care if you've got to go so bad it's coming out your hair braids. If there's not one out back for the help, you find yourself a time when she's not there in a bathroom she doesn't use. Rule number three: Mama jerked my chin back round to face her because that cake had lured me again. Rule number three: when you're cooking white people's food, you taste it with a different spoon. You put that spoon to your mouth, think nobody's looking, put it back in the pot, might as well throw it out. Rule number four: you use the same cup, same fork, same plate every day. Keep it in a separate cupboard and tell that white woman that's the one you'll use from here on out. Rule number five: you eat in the kitchen. Rule number six: you don't hit on her children. White people like to do their own spanking. Rule number seven, and this is the last one, Minnie. Are you listening to me? No sass mouthing. Mama, I know. Oh, I hear you when you think I can't, muttering about having to clean the stovepipe, about the last little piece of chicken left for poor Minnie. You sass a white woman in the morning, you'll be sassing out in the street in the afternoon. I saw the way my mama acted when Miss Woodruff brought her home. All yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and I sure do thank you, ma'am, and why I gotta be like that. I know how to stand up to people. Now come here and give your mama a hug on your birthday. Lord, you as heavy as a house, Minnie. I ain't eating all day. When can I have my cake? Don't say ain't. You speak properly now. I didn't raise you to talk like a mule. First day at my white lady's house, I ate my ham sandwich in the kitchen, put my plate up in a spot in the cupboard. When that little brat stole my pocketbook and hid it in the oven, I didn't whoop her on the behind. But when the white lady said, "Now I want to be sure you hand wash all the clothes first, then put them in the electric machine to wash up," I said, "Why I got to hand wash when the power washer gonna do the job? That's the biggest waste of time I ever heard of." That white lady smiled at me, and 5 minutes later, I was out on the street. Working for Miss Celia, I'll get to see my kids off to Span Elementary in the morning and still get home in the evening with time to myself. I haven't had a nap since Kendra was born in 1957, but with these hours, 8 to 3, I could have one every day if that was my idea of a fine time. Since no bus goes all the way out to Miss Celia's, I have to take Leroy's car. "You ain't taking my car every day, woman. What if I get the day shift and need to?" "She paying me $70 cash every Friday, Leroy." "Well, maybe I'll take Sugar's bike." On Tuesday, the day after the interview, I parked the car down the street from Miss Celia's house, round a curve, so you can't see it. I walk fast on the empty road and up the drive. No other cars come by. "I'm here, Miss Celia." I stick my head in her bedroom that first morning, and there she is, propped up on the covers with her makeup perfect and in her tight Friday night clothes on, even though it's Tuesday, reading the trash in the Hollywood Digest like it's the Holy Bee. Good morning, Minnie. It's real good to see you, she says, and I bristle, hearing a white lady being so friendly. I look around the bedroom, sizing up the job. It's big, with cream color carpets, a yellow king canopy bed, two fat yellow chairs, and it's neat, with no clothes on the floor. The spread's made up underneath her. The blankets on the chairs folded nice, but I watch, I look, I feel it. Something's wrong. When can we get to our first cooking lesson? Can we start today? I reckon in a few days, after you go to the store and pick up what we need. She thinks about this a second. Maybe you ought to go, Minnie, since you know what to buy and all. I look at her. Most white women like to do their own shopping. All right, I'll go in the morning then. I spot a small pink shag rug she's put on top of the carpet, next to the bathroom door, kind of catty-cornered. I'm no decorator, but I know a pink rug doesn't match a yellow room. Miss Celia, before I get going here, I need to know exactly when you planning on telling Mr. Johnny about me. She eyes the magazine in her lap. In a few months, I reckon. I ought to know how to cook and stuff by then. By a few, you meaning two? She bites her lipsticky lips. I was thinking more like 4. Say what? I'm not working 4 months like an escaped criminal. You ain't gonna tell him till 1963? No, ma'am, before Christmas. All right, but right before. I do some figuring. That's 116 days then. You gonna tell him. 116 days from now on. She gives me a worried frown. I guess she didn't expect the maid to be so good at math. Finally, she says okay. Then I tell her she needs to go in the living room. Let me do my work in here. When she is gone, I eyeball the room at how neat it all looks. Real slow. I open her closet, and just like I thought, 45 things fall down on my head. Then I look under the bed and find enough dirty clothes to where I bet she hasn't washed in months. Every drawer is a wreck. Every hidden cranny full of dirty clothes and wadded up stockings. I find 15 boxes of new shirts for Mr. Johnny, so he won't know she can't wash and iron. Finally, I lift that funny-looking pink shag rug. Underneath, there's a big, deep stain the color of rust. I shudder. That afternoon, Miss Celia and I make a list of what to cook that week, and the next morning I do the grocery shopping. But it takes me twice as long because I have to drive all the way to the white jitney jungle in town instead of the colored Piggly Wiggly by me, since I figure she won't eat food from a colored grocery store. And I reckon I don't blame her, with the potatoes having inch-long eyes and milk almost sour. When I get to work, I'm ready to fight with her over all the reasons I'm late. But there Miss Celia is on the bed like before, smiling like it doesn't matter, all dressed up and going nowhere. For 5 hours she sits there, reading magazines. The only time I see her get up is for a glass of milk or to pee. But I don't ask. I'm just the maid. After I clean the kitchen, I go in the formal living room. I stop in the doorway and give that grizzly bear a good long stare. He's 7 feet tall and baring his teeth. His claws are long, curled, and witchy looking. At his feet lays a bone-handled hunting knife. I get closer and see his fur's nappy with dust, and there's a cobweb between his jaws. First, I swept at the dust with my broom, but it's thick and matted up in his fur. All it does is move the dust around. So I take a cloth and try and wipe him down, but I squawk every time that wiry hair touches my hand. White people. I mean, I've cleaned everything from refrigerators to rear ends, but what makes that lady think I know how to clean a damn grizzly bear? I go get the Hoover. I sucked the dirt off, and except for a few spots where I sucked too hard and thinned him, I think it worked out pretty good. After I'm done with the bear, I dust the fancy books nobody reads, the Confederate gold buttons, the silver pistol. On a table is a gold picture frame of Miss Celia and Mr. Johnny at the altar, and I look close to see what kind of man he is. I'm hoping he's fat and short-legged in case it comes to running, but he's not anywhere close. He's strong, tall, and thick, and he's no stranger either. Lord, he's the one who went steady with Miss Hilly all those years when I first worked for Miss Walters. I never met him, but I saw him enough times to be sure. I shiver, my fears tripling, because that alone says more about that man than anything. At 1 o'clock, Miss Celia comes in the kitchen, and she's ready for her first cooking lesson. She settles on a stool and she's wearing a tight red sweater and enough makeup to scare a hooker. What you know how to cook already? I ask. She thinks this over, wrinkling her forehead. Maybe we should just start at the beginning. Must be something you know. What'd your mama teach you growing up? She looks down at her webby feet of her pantyhose and says, I can cook corn pone. I can't help but laugh. What else you know how to do besides corn pone? I can boil potatoes. Her voice drops even quieter. And I can do grits. We didn't have electric current out where I lived, but I'm ready to learn right on a real stovetop. Lord, I've never met a white person worse off than me, except for crazy Mr. Wally, lives behind the cat and feed store and eats the cat food. You been feeding your husband grits and corn pone every day? Miss Celia nods. But you'll teach me to cook, right? Won't you? I'll try, even though I've never told a white woman what to do and I really don't know how to start. I pull up my hose and think about it. Finally, I point to the can on the counter. I reckon if there's anything you ought to know about cooking, it's this. That's just lard, ain't it? No, it ain't just lard. It's the most important invention in the kitchen since jarred mayonnaise. What's so special about, she wrinkles her nose at it, pig fat? Ain't pig, it's vegetable. Who in this world doesn't know what Crisco is? You don't have a clue of all things you can do with this here can. She shrugs. Fry? Ain't just for frying. You ever get a sticky something in your hair like gum? I jackhammer my finger on the Crisco can. That's right, Crisco. Spread this on a baby's bottom, you won't ever know what a diaper rash is. I plop 3 scoops in the black skillet. Shoot, I've seen ladies rub it under their eyes and on their husband's scaly feet. Look how pretty it is, like white cake frosting. Clean the goo from a price tag, take the squeak out of a door hinge, light gets cut, stick a wick in it, and burn it like a candle. I turn on the flame and we watch it melt down in the pan. And after all that, it'll still fry your chicken. All right, she says, concentrating real hard. What's next? Chicken's been soaking in the buttermilk, I say. Now mix up the dry. I pour flour, salt, more salt, pepper, paprika, and a pinch of cayenne into a doubled paper sack. Now, put the chicken parts in the bag and shake it. Miss Celia puts a raw chicken thigh in and bumps the bag around. Like this? Just like the shake and bake commercials on the TV? Yep, I say and run my tongue over my teeth, 'cause if that's not an insult, I don't know what is. Just like the shake and bake. But then I freeze. I hear the sound of a car motor out on the road. I can hold still and listen. I can see Miss Celia's eyes are big and she's listening too. We're thinking the same thing. What if it's him, and where will I hide? The car motor passes. We both breathe again. Miss Celia, I grit my teeth. How come you can't tell your husband about me? Ain't he gonna know when the cooking gets good? Oh, I didn't think about that. Maybe we ought to burn the chicken a little. I look at her sideways. I ain't burning no chicken. She didn't answer the real question, but I'll get it out of her soon enough. Real careful, I lay the dark meat in the pan. It bubbles up like a song, and we watch the thighs and legs turn brown. I look over, and Miss Celia's smiling at me. What? Something on my face? No, she says, tears coming up in her eyes. She touches my arm. I'm just real grateful you're here. I move my arm back from under her hand. Miss Celia, you got a lot more to be grateful for than me. I know. She looks at her fancy kitchen like it's something that tastes bad. I never dreamed I'd have this much. Well, ain't you lucky? I've never been happier in my whole life. I leave it at that. Underneath all that happy, she sure doesn't look happy. That night, I call Abeline. Miss Hilly was at Miss Leafold's yesterday. She asked if anybody knew where you was working. Lordy, she find out there, she ruin it for sure. It's been 2 weeks since the terrible, awful thing I did to that woman. I know she just loved to see me fired on the spot. What Leroy say when you told him you got the job? Shoot. He strut around the kitchen like a plumed rooster 'cause he in front of the kids. Act like he's the only one supporting the family and I'm doing this just to keep my poor self entertained. Later on, though, we in bed and I thought my big old bull for a husband was going to cry. Aibileen laughs. Leroy got a lot of pride. Yeah, I just gotta make sure Mr. Johnny don't catch up with me. Ain't she told you why she don't want him to know? All she say is she want him to think she can do the cooking and cleaning herself. But that ain't why. She's hiding something from him. Ain't it funny how this worked out? Miss Celia can't tell nobody, else it'll get back to Mr. Johnny. So Miss Hilly won't find out, 'cause Miss Celia can't tell nobody. You couldn't have fixed it better yourself. Mm-hmm, is all I say. I don't want to sound ungrateful since Abileen's the one who got me the job, but I can't help but think that I've just doubled my trouble, what with Miss Hilly and now Mr. Johnny, too. Minnie, I've been meaning to ask you, Aibileen clears her throat. You know that Miss Skeeter? Tall one, used to come over to Miss Walters for bridge? Yeah. What'd you think about her? I don't know. She white just like the rest of 'em. Why? What'd she say about me? Oh, nothing about you, Aibileen says. She just... A few weeks ago, I don't know why I keep thinking about it. She asked me something. Asked, do I want to change thing? White woman never asked. But then Leroy stumbles in from the bedroom, wanting his coffee before his late shift. Shoot, he's up. Talk quick. Nah, never mind. It's nothing, Aibileen says. What? What's going on? What that lady tell you? It was just jabber. It was nonsense.